at
Okay.
Level Up.
Okay, cool. Hello. I think we are live. I don't know, there's a tag that says live in the back. But anyways, to get started, hi everybody. Thank you so much for joining our Level Up Web3 Grants office hours session. I don't know. I but we can start from the top. I'm Emily. I lead the DevRel team at Scroll. And take it away, Chris, if you want to kind of bring things
Hi,
up.
I'm Chris. I am part of the ecosystem team, and I'm helping a lot out on the grants program. Nice to meet all of you.
Okay, cool. So basically, I'll just start off with like a very brief kind of overview of what the grants program looks like. I prepared a short slide deck. Also, if I'm coming in and out in terms of Wi-Fi, please let me know. But anyways, I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen. So like at a high level, what is the grants office or program? I have office hours on here because that's what we're talking about today. So for those of you guys who don't know, the Scroll Grants program is open right now. There are two tracks. So we have a starter track, which is up to $10,000 per project. So this is more so for those of you guys in the earlier stage, exploring kind of unique ideas and just want to get kind of off the ground. The second track we have is launch track. So this is up to $100,000. It's designed for projects that are on the more ambitious side. You guys have grown and you need kind of a bigger, what do you call it, amount, grant allocation in order to really like kickstart everything. So big news. I don't know if you guys heard. So deadline is August 25th. 3:59 UTC. So that's actually my time, midnight. I'm in New York. But basically just like get it in. We'll start reviewing when I'm awake. Well, actually, we're already reviewing. It's in a rolling basis. But yeah, I mean, to kind of visualize what that timeline looks like, applications opened on July 8th. The original deadline was actually August 8th, but I just went to ETH Argentina and there were some really amazing projects. So we are extending it to the 25th, like I mentioned. Oh no, my slide is wrong. This is supposed to say August 31st. But yeah, we didn't go back in time, I guess is what I'm saying here. But that's kind of what you can expect at a high level. I want to give some kind of advice into applying for grants in general. If you guys are considering the Scroll program, basically, like in addition to not just, I guess, monetary support, right? Because I mean, grants programs are probably the same across the board in terms of like you apply, you need to be powered up or like bootstrapped through some sort of means. But you want to kind of look at what comes around everything, right? What do we offer in addition to just like a simple grant? So that's definitely connecting people into our Scroll ecosystem. We are very big. We know a lot of people. I think part of the power of entering certain ecosystems is mostly the relationships that you build, right? So whether that be like, again, I said connections. I think on the internal side, helping out with like marketing, GTM, what it looks like to showcase your project to communities around the world. I guess like from just like a Scroll perspective on the DevRel side of what I'm planning is you want to take a really hard chance on like community-based, like local-based branding and exposure. So I think that's a really cool kind of interesting way when you're thinking about, is Scroll the right place for you? And basically what I'm saying here is don't be a grant farmer, right? I think, there's a lot of opportunities out there. There's opportunities that you should also be selective about. So yeah, I mean, definitely apply for the Scroll grants if you are interested. And I hope you're applying to Scroll grants because of Scroll, right? So actually, here's also, I want to give some, I guess, recommendations on what a good kind of proposal or thinking about how you might frame your problem that you're trying to solve is actually first of all, is read the requirements. I think, every part of any application is basically just like making sure you have everything in place. If you head over to the website, it's all very clearly laid out. I'll show you guys what the link looks like later. But to that point, I think when we talk about applying for grants, there's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of really creative builders building unique ideas again. But transparently, we get a lot of inbound, right? So how do you stand out from the rest? And I think it's mostly clearly articulating the problem you're trying to solve, and understanding how it fits into the big picture of like, what can we do to support you and how that contributes to the greater whole, right? So I said well-structured story. It doesn't have to be like that. But anyways, what I want to say from a proposal standpoint is like, lead with the problem. I think what I see very often is people leading with the solution. But it's really important to kind of set the stage for us to understand like why your project is the project to support, right? This is a lot of text, so I think I'm going to move on to this one, which is more so, no, sorry. Yes. Why are you building? Oh, and I think this last piece too is like, it can be easy to get wrapped up in niche crypto problems. Try zooming out. I think that's also like a really helpful piece of advice, just kind of understanding how you fit in the world, right? But yeah, what kind of a pitch, this is more of a pitch deck, but like generally how you can think about your product is also like, how do you frame it against who your users are, right? So this is a pretty good like one-liner of how you can kind of summarize things, right? So your product name, the product type that helps target users do what they're trying to do, and how your product works. What does that look like from a practical example, right? So if you guys are familiar with like Privy, here's an example, right? Privy is the product name. What is it doing? It's authentication, authorization, data control tooling. Who are the target users, developers? What are they trying to do? Deliver amazing products that basically keep users safe. So kind of thinking about what this looks like, here's some examples of how to kind of pull out each individual piece of that pitch statement. I can share this deck afterwards, so don't be worried by this incredible amount of text. But yeah, that's kind of a high level of, how do you lead a project grants proposal to really, I guess, distill your information. Other things that are really important, again, like we're here to support you and and like understand how your project works, right? So there's a level of like, who is your team? I have another slide about like important information that might need to be there, but like, yeah, we're working together with you. We want to know who you guys are, what your accomplishments are, your background. Timeline, so milestones are really important here when you guys think about structuring your grant. What are your needs and what are your like commitment to achieving them, as we collaborate over the entire time. Impact on community, and then evidence, I think, is also a really interesting point to bring up. Obviously, for like starter projects, you might not necessarily have a huge amount of evidence, right? So for like a launch project, you might say, oh, we already have X amount of users, this amount of traction on mainnet, things like that. But as a starter project, you're coming out, like, how do you prove that you're worth the time? Popular examples that I've seen that I think are good beginning things is just like, what kind of data have you looked into? Have you done your due diligence? I think another thing is just like user feedback, interest forms too, right? So like, how many signups do you have already? Or like, just in terms of just like as you do testing in the wild, I've talked to real people. A simple quote as well is actually really helpful for, articulating why someone might find what you're building exciting and amazing from people, outside of just your internal team. So that's that. Just as to dive in a little bit more into the team aspect. Like I said, we're trying to figure out why you are the right team. Also for this specific product, right? Like there is a match in all directions. So yeah, that's a high level of that. I have an FAQ. I was like, also, this is a lot of text to put in. So I'm going to jump over to this tab right here. So basically how you can get to grants if you are looking up, you can just head to this site, levelupweb3.xyz. You can also find that like on our scroll.io website and everything. But anyways, you can hit the grants, and then here's a little bit form, and I'll basically rehash all the information that I just what do you call it? Fire hosed onto you. But yeah, how to apply, how do we evaluate grants, focus areas, stuff like that. And then, like, luckily, we did set up the grants, I guess, application form in a way such that, we are very clear about the requirements. But yeah, I'm going to end there. I know I sped through this really fast, but that's more so because I wanted to leave time for, I guess, attendees to ask any questions, clarification, maybe like for Chris to say words instead of just me, which is a problem I often have. But yeah, okay, cool. Wow, I did that talk in 10 minutes and 37 seconds. Good job. Also, I don't know, maybe this is a play to be more relatable. I was talking to Chris about this. I just got pizza right before this and I haven't been able to eat it, so I'm going to start taking bites of that in the middle of the stream. Don't be offended. But yeah. Cool. Chris, I don't know if you have anything you want to add or talk about to give additional color.
Yeah, for sure. So I think a couple of things probably that weren't highlighted specifically, but they're in the form is if you have any questions or have any doubts, we have an email, grants@scroll.io. You can ask us any questions. Let us know if you want some early feedback or if you don't know if your grant would qualify or not. We're always happy to provide some input. It does take a while. We are getting a lot of inbound, but we try to do our best to, field those questions. And yeah, I think one thing that I always tell people is don't really try to create the perfect application. This is not, an essay or you're not going to get into college doing this. I think we're very relaxed in terms of, providing you some flexibility. If we have questions, we'll reach out. And yeah, I think the most important thing is getting the application submitted and not just dwell on it. But I think you've covered most of them. I think it's probably good now to just segue into the questions.
Yes.
How do you want to do this?
I'll just go from the top. So here, Yash has the first question. Will the team take the time to go through deep technical documents carefully? I guess, Chris, feel free to add. My example, I think my opinion is yes, right?
Yes, we will go through the effort of going through the technical evaluation. I think one thing to highlight, we wouldn't obviously do it for every single project. There is a sort of filtering process, especially from the first block in terms of making sure the applications meets the criteria. But once we're pretty, into the decision-making process and doing evaluations, our team will be going into the technical documents or try to play around with the MVP and see how it is and compares to what you put on your application. So yes, we do technical evaluations as part of the process.
Yeah. I mean, I would also say from an evaluations point of view, internally at Scroll, we have a wide kind of board of people from all different backgrounds helping evaluate projects from different angles. So yeah, I guess we'll do it.
And it's actually good when you do it because it actually shows you have a good product, which is good for us, as opposed to just a demo or if it's closed source and you can't see anything. So always better to have technical documentation or a repo than not.
Cool. Here, Guillermo, is there a particular category they're building SocialFi doesn't make sense for Scroll?
Yes, you are allowed to. I think it's more of not necessarily the category, but sort of how does your application really differ from what's out there, right? And I think that's really the main thing for a lot of these. There are only so many DeFi projects or so much SocialFi projects. I think the main thing is to articulate why your product is different from what's currently out there or why it isn't an improvement, over what's currently out in the market. So I wouldn't try to pick your project based on the category, but focus more so on what really makes your product stand out from what's out there and why you're uniquely positioned to execute it and make it successful.
Yeah. Awesome. I hope that's pretty comprehensive. Cool. This is a good question. So somebody applied. Wow, literally the day after applications opened. Good job, dude. I don't You got to teach me how to not procrastinate on things. But we have a few changes that we are making. Should we apply again? I feel like you have time, right? So it's fine.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can, if it's not too many changes, feel free to email us at grants@scroll.io and we can update your application as needed. If you think it's going to be a very, very big change, like you're completely rewriting it, feel free to submit a new one. But if it's just like, some minor changes here and there, grants@scroll.io, we're happy to help you out with that. Just make sure to include your project name and your email that you submitted with so we can make those adjustments.
Cool. Whoa, this is big. I want to build on top of Scroll for B2C. Will it be possible to receive engineering support from Scroll? If it becomes a solid production level project, will Scroll support fundraising? So I think I can answer this question. There's a few things, right? In terms of receiving engineering support from Scroll, I think it probably dials into exactly what you're asking. If it's just like support, right, or advice and things like that, I think definitely as a grants recipient, we want to help you be successful. But if you're talking about like actually building and things like that, what's cool about Scroll that I don't know, or at least like what I like about our community, is we have a lot of really talented developers that just are interested in building on Scroll, right? Whether that be dev shops or individual devs. So we've been in situations as well where we've been able to make introductions of like, if you're looking for like X person to build out your smart contracts, right? We can make those connections. So depending on what level of engineering support you're looking for, angle, I think we can cover that. If it becomes a solid production level project, will Scroll support fundraising? So I think also the answer is like, and Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, right? I think there is a level of Scroll is already a very popular project that people are, what do you call it, monitoring through their own Dune dashboard. So just organically, like if a project is successful on Scroll, that kind of gets its own amount of noise anyways. And there's a natural process of just like VCs being interested in it. But in terms of like intros, I feel like it's a similar thing, right? Like solid production level project. I guess if production level also means traction, then yes. I don't know, Chris.
Yeah.
I'm more on the engineering side, so I don't want to promise anything.
Yeah. I think to like level set, it comes down to like how the project is and like where the level it is at. Every project has different fronts. Like are you like a pre-seed? Is it an angel investment? Is it a Series A? We get a wide variety of them. I think ultimately we're always happy to help a project depending on where they are in their maturity. A lot of VCs, a lot of people that are watching Scroll, like Emily said, are always paying attention to what's coming out. And if they ask for an intro or if the project needs an intro as well, we're always happy to facilitate those connections if it makes sense. But I guess to like those Scroll support fundraising directly, it's not like we're making investments directly on any particular project ourselves. I think the grants are sort of our way to help bootstrap a lot of these and make sure like they have enough resources to be successful on the Scroll ecosystem. But that's sort of, as much as support we're providing at the moment.
Cool. Another question. If I am starting out with the project, is it okay to apply for the launch category?
Yes. Technically, it is okay. I think you would just have to make the case as to why the launch category versus the starter track. One thing to keep in mind as well is, the launch category is probably going to be a lot more competitive because we're expecting a lot more polished projects that are coming out of it. So technically you could apply, but just know that, the level of quality projects that are going to be there are probably a little higher. So if you are starting out, it might make more sense to do with the starter track. I think one thing to keep in mind as well is our goal is for the projects to end up in the starter track to eventually also get a follow-up grant and eventually, be able to good fit for the launch track. So it's not like you only have one chance of a grant, but, we want to help you grow. And, hopefully that means that later on you'd be able to go towards the launch category. the goal of the starter track is really to help projects, kind of like test out their MVPs and proof of concepts and get into a level where they are eligible for more larger grants down the road.
Wow, so many good questions. I was really worried that like it would be crickets, so I'm happy.
Yes, me too.
Is the product already deployed on Scroll eligible?
Yes, this is a short answer. If you already out Scroll, it's fine to apply as well. Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that is the last one that I see.
Yeah, there haven't been any more. Usually there's a lag of like 10 seconds. But also if people are joining later, then I'm just going to put this up. If you're joining later or someone's watching the recording, email grants@scroll.io if there's questions. Oh, okay, cool. There's more questions. Where is this? What is the expectation for the starter track MVP prototype mockup?
Yes. I think ideally we would like to see an MVP or a prototype built already. Mockup is doable, but you have to do a really, really good job of explaining why your application or idea is so different that it sort of, comes across on your application. But the idea is to at least have something already built, even if it's like, even like when you see something done out of 48-hour hackathon, I think those are good examples of what we would want to see. It's like very simple idea. You can kind of play with it a little. There's like no clear path to market yet, but the idea is to kind of like help you take it to the next level. So ideally, you have something. It's not impossible to get it with a mockup, but I would definitely say it's going to be much harder than someone that's already built something out.
This is a great question. What type of pizza is that? I'm hungry, LOL. So I am based in New York. We have a coworker visiting from Scotland, so he wants New York pizza. So I ordered 5 pizzas from Ruby Rosa. If you're not familiar, or if you guys ever come, highly recommend. I have a honey, I guess, sopressata pizza, so very thin crust, like hot honey, sopressata. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And then there's another one. It's the Ruby Rosa Supreme. It's basically like your classic tomato-based pizza, but there's like fresh garlic, basil, pepperoni, mozzarella on it, etc. I only grabbed 2 slices, but there are 3 other flavors that hopefully will not be gone by the time I leave this live stream. But
I like that you guys ordered pizza when I'm not there at the office.
I mean,
thank you
that's
not
your
letting me
fault.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's my
Okay.
fault. I was not invited.
Yeah.
I think that's it. We have no more questions coming in. Let's give it a little bit more, couple of seconds here.
Yeah. This is what I was gonna put up. I typed this earlier. Yes. If you're watching the recording, please email this thing. If you leave comments on the video, you probably will get even slower response. So, yeah, there's that. So if there's not any more questions, I'm going to count down from the number 10. And then if there's nothing else, then I'm going to go eat the 3 other flavors of pizza and await your applications. Ha! Okay, wow.
Oh no, got a couple more.
Oh, this is good.
Great.
Oh wait, no, this one. This one came first. For RWA projects, they have an MVP, or will the starter or launch pad be preferable? I'm not quite sure I understand the question. So if there's an MVP out already, will the starter or launch pack be preferable? Preferable to what?
Probably which track to apply to.
Oh, sorry. Okay. You're smarter than I am.
It's starter or launch track. I think it says launch pad, so that's probably what threw you off.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking about meme coins.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good one. I think it sort of depends, where you think would be helpful for your project. Like if at this point, like $10,000 really wouldn't move the needle for you, where you're like $10,000, it's not really going to do much. Like I'm at a point where, I need some extra funds to either like pay more people, get an audit, do something else that takes your project to the next level. I think that's where you might want to lean towards a launchpad. If you have users already and are like have people already testing it out, that probably makes more sense at that point to try to like go for the launchpad over the starter. Like starter, you can imagine it more like again like hackathon projects, small ideas, like where you just got maybe a handful of people testing it out or users. But yeah, I would say probably most likely if you already have an MVP, you have some traction, you have some users, probably the launchpad makes a little bit more sense. And if you're still ideating and trying to figure it out, then the starter track. If you want, please email us at grants@scroll.io and provide like more details about your project so we can probably guide you a little bit better. It's difficult to say with just like, RWA project and an MVP to give you a more guided answer here.
Cool. I guess this is about badges. It's not super relevant to grants. So I'm not on the badges team. My answer is
so it's Canvas. Let's scroll Canvas. I would assume is what we're talking about here. It's a permissionless platform. So the team, is not necessarily doing like credibility in that sense. I would check, our Twitter account to see some of the projects that we are working with regards to badges, and you can kind of see those. But this office hours particularly just focus on grants. So sorry, so we can't be a little bit more helpful here.
Yes. How many projects will be accepted this season? Variable, depending on project quality.
Yeah, I think we didn't put a number on the number. Like we don't have an expected number. We kind of just want to see what is out there. This is our first time doing a grants platform at this scale. So we weren't really sure, what to expect. I think for us, the more important thing is, how many projects we are able to give funding to. And, we're really to be flexible here. And like, if we see more than we anticipated, then I think we would try to find a way to support them. So sorry, that doesn't really give you an exact number, but, if it's a good project, we'll try to do our best efforts here to make sure we can support it.
I'm just going to put this up because I like complimenting myself. Wow, office hours was such a good idea. So, yeah, no, I agree. Being, in general, online activations are probably more effective than conferences in terms of reach. Because good projects for grants can come from anywhere and not just IRL interactions at some $700 ticket price. Also, I really like my bed, so I don't want to travel anymore.
My bad.
Yeah. I guess my question for the audience, is it better to start with a form before office hours next time versus just sitting and waiting and filling up empty space? Oh, what is the website to apply for the grant program? Great. levelupweb3.xyz. I'll share my screen again just so you can see the flow. So you go to this website. So Level Up is actually, for clarity, is Scroll's platform for leveling up devs from, any part in their journey. So if you're more on the educational side, this is also an opportunity, I guess, for projects that are interested in it. Either like leveling up devs from an educational perspective. You can add in, it's open source, so contributions are also a thing you can do. So here's like a content piece. We're already working with some partners who are interested in providing technical content as part of just like a cross-blog experience. That being said, the criteria for that is like tech first, right? This is a platform agnostic educational place. So no shills, only learning. Anyways, but like again, like the last piece of kind of the whole cycle of, you know, a dev building is oftentimes grants or like bootstrapping their project. So if you click that, this is where you can find the tally form. Again, all the details that I sped through in the beginning, and then like the application process. I do think this is actually a really good question to answer right here. Where is this? Can I apply as an anon? The answer is we do need to do KYC, so keep that in mind as you are, I guess, evaluating whether or not this is something you would like to pursue. That being said, we are also going to be super private, so like, don't worry, we're not here to dox people. Okay.
Yes, and just to like add to that, we keep that information private, and we wouldn't share it with the rest of the team. Only like the people that have to actually do the KYC process. So we make sure that like your identity is still kept as private as possible, even from like the rest of the grants team and the other folks at Scroll. So yes, we are anon friendly as much as possible.
Nice.
You were asking yourself a question before they asked this question, Emily. Do you want to continue that?
Oh, yeah. I think my question was, if we do this again, what is the right way of avoiding awkward silence between potential questions that might come through? Because I do think I rambled, and every time I rambled, something came up, and I'm like, okay, I can't go get my other 3 slices of pizza.
You can play some music in between and give people a little break just
Oh,
to formulate their questions, so it's not an awkward silence.
that's true. I think I can actually do that. I'm gonna try this. Hold up. We're using Restream.
I think maybe let's just give another minute or two. If not, then we can wrap it up early. But yeah,
Okay, I turned off the music, but yeah. I guess, is there anything else I guess you feel like is important to call out?
Yeah, I think probably one more piece of advice for a lot of projects that are applying that sometimes gets overlooked as you are thinking of applying for your own project is uh, look around what other projects are available in the Scroll ecosystem and think how they can like complement your project. I think that's one of the things that a lot of builders probably don't account for as they're like trying to bootstrap their own. But you know, when we talk about like DeFi Legos, when you talk about like the NFT ecosystem as a broad, there are things that your project is going to need, or there are probably other projects that complement you well. And you should think about that as you're applying, because you know that might help take your project to the next level. But it's something that easily gets overlooked by a lot of people. But I think it's super important to the success of a project long term. So that's my last bit of advice before we log off.
Nice. Okay. I think that filled up the 10-second mark, but I'll do it anyways. And then we'll say goodbye. And then, oh wait, where's my message? I'm gonna post it again. And if you missed this live office hours, email grants@scroll.io.
And we'll grants@scroll.io, not my email.
It's grants, right? Yeah.
You said Chris@scroll.io.
Oh, did I say? No, I
Yes.
didn't. I think you just heard that yourself.
I think we can watch this recording and look who's lying. But yes, grants@scroll.io.
Okay, grants@scroll.io. Okay, cool. Well, anyways, I think that is everything. Thank you so much, Chris, for taking the time to join us today. And you can find the recording saved on YouTube, the Scroll YouTube. I should also find the link for that. But it also just lives on our Twitter account, I think. So maybe I won't. Yeah, because it's a weird, funky URL, so I'm not going to do that. Anyways, cool. I'm going to wave bye and then end this stream. Okay.